Good morning. It's the next day, and there's my beautiful roast. So I just turned this off a little bit ago. I've got my jars. I'm using pint-sized jars. I've got 24 of them in the dishwasher right now, and I'm getting those sanitized so that I can get this in the jars. Okay, so I've got all of my meat taken out of my roasting pan. There's still some meat in there. I just couldn't get all of it in here and carry it back upstairs. I'm going to be following the directions from my Ball complete book of home preserving. This is my Bible. I go to this all the time. So the directions inside of the book says to fill up your jars, leaving 1-inch headspace, and that'll put our meat like right about here. Just to that neck, and then I'm gonna fill it up with my broth that I have, and then I'm going to, since these are pints, the directions say to pressure can them for 75 minutes, which I will do, and I will also, before I start that 75 minutes, I will vent. Once the steam is coming out through the top of the canner, I will let that vent for 10 minutes, and I'll show you as we go along, just for those of you who are watching this for the first time and want to learn about canning. I've been doing this for a few years, so and I've had a few lids that haven't sealed, so one day I'll go over what you do with those types of issues, but it doesn't happen very often. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of these filled up real fast. So I am not going to stuff, isn't that a beautiful bone? I'm not going to stuff these jars. You can stuff yours. I'm doing fat and all. Maybe not too much fat, but I know how much our family eats, and one jar is a meal for us. So, and there's 4 of us in the family, and one of them used to be a football player, so. Just to give you an idea of how far this food goes. Ooh, this is still hot. And I'm wearing my gloves because A, this is greasy kind of, and B, it's still kind of warm, and C, it just makes me feel better knowing that I don't have my hands, even though I wash my hands constantly, that my hands aren't touching our food. Also in the directions, it says that you should brown your meat before you can it. I have done this before, and I really like the pulled pork. I mean, we could literally have this for dinner and have pulled pork sandwiches tonight, or we could have burritos with this tonight for dinner, which is what we usually do with this meat, is we have burritos with it. But you need to cook your meat first. I just think that it makes it taste better. I've never not cooked my meat. When it comes to the pork shoulder, I've always cooked it, and it comes out fine. It doesn't turn to mush. It still tastes great. Okay, so now I'm filling up all of my jars, and I'm gonna get the water, the juice, within 1 inch to that the neck there. So I'm gonna have to adjust these. I'm just trying to you know, get some in there. I'm gonna use my little pokey, and I'm gonna get all the air bubbles out, and then we're gonna finish off and make sure that everybody has 1-inch headspace, like the directions say. All right, I got 16 jars of meat in here, and I think I paid about $20. So, and each jar is 1 meal. So that's about, if I do the math, 16 jars, $20 for the meat, a little bit more, so maybe $1.20 per meal in meat. Can't get any cheaper than that. Okay, so I have room for 4 more jars in my canner. I want to make sure I make the best of it. So what I'm gonna do, I've got my big bowl here that I have my meat in. I've got a strainer, and I'm just gonna line this with some cloths, sack cloths, potato sacks. Got these at Walmart over where they have all the other towels. I usually just use them for doing stuff like this. And what I want to do is I want to strain and get all the fat and junk out of here. So I got to do something with the bones because the dogs can have those. And yes, I can make bone broth with all of this, but this is a really flavorful broth and I want to give my dogs a treat. So I'm just going to save these 2 big bones for the girls. Let's stop for a second and talk about safety. All of my jars have been washed in hot water in the dishwasher, and I put it on the sanitizing cycle just because I'm not going to play with my family's health. This I've washed in hot soapy water to make sure that my utensils are clean, because you don't want to get your family sick. That would be the worst feeling in the world. I just could not even imagine. Because botulism is a real thing and it will kill people. Again, 1-inch headspace for your stock, which is what I have here, 1-inch headspace. I'm going to clean the rim and seal her up. Okay, remember we want to make sure we have no air bubbles. Let's give it a little jiggle jiggle. Clean my rims. Okay, I got my canner loaded up. Remember my vinegar I was using? I'm just going to pour it in here. I should probably pour a little bit more in there. The reason why you do that is because it keeps your jars from getting all filmy. Let me get it. There. That's all we need. Now, here's some things you want to make sure. Make sure your lid, your gauge pops up. Make sure this one pops up. See how it pops up just a little bit there? And make sure that your band is clean, and make sure that you can see through here. You can see the light. And can I see light? I gotta find the light. I see light. I was looking through here to see if I can see some light. Okay, you want to be able to, because if you can't, you'll have to get a pipe cleaner or something to clean that out, because you don't want that getting all corroded. Okay, so I have my arrow right here. I don't know if you can see that. Here we go. My arrow right here lines up with my arrow right here. So I'm going to line those two up. I may have to make some adjustments. Close it off. Now I can't see my dial, so I got to turn this whole thing around. Do not leave your canner. I'm going to crank it up to high, and this is what I'm looking for. My canner, for my area, I have to be at 11 pounds. It's where that little dark line is at, 11 pounds, okay? Well, let me back up. For my canner, I want it to vent. So the steam is gonna come out of here. When the steam starts coming out of here real good, I'm gonna set my timer for 10 minutes. That's venting. Once it's vented for 10 minutes, I'm gonna place my little doohickey right on there, okay? And it's gonna quiet it right down. When it gets up to 11, at that point, that's when I'm going to start timing it. Now, if it drops below, I got to start all over again. I want to stay at 11 or a little bit more. And I have to go for 75 minutes. That's 1 hour and 15 minutes. So I got to get this thing going because it's almost 3 in the afternoon. Okay, I'll come back at you. Okay, I've been venting for 10 minutes. So now I'm going to put my weight on. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for my dial to come up to 11 pounds. As soon as it does, then I'm going to set my timer for 75 minutes and keep an eye on my weighted gauge here, my dial, just to make sure it does not fall below. So this is the first time using this stove, so I'm gonna have to fiddle around with my temperature setting on my stove because I don't know how this one's gonna do. Our 70 minutes is up, so I'm gonna turn my stove off and I'm just gonna leave it here. I'm not gonna do anything with this canner. Just let it come back down to pressure. When it does, the dial back here is gonna drop, this one here is gonna drop, and this is gonna be down to 0. So we're not gonna touch this for probably at least half an hour, 45 minutes.